You sent the message 47 minutes ago. You've opened the app 3 times since then. Not to do anything, there's nothing to do. You open it, see the word read, and close it again. Like pressing on a bruise to see if it still hurts. It does. Something in your chest drops half an inch. Not pain exactly. More like the moment right before pain, where your body already knows something your mind hasn't caught up to. Being left on read is not rudeness, it's not forgetfulness. It's one of the most efficient status moves in modern communication, and most people hand over that status without even realizing there was a transaction. By the end of this, you won't just understand why it works, you'll understand why you let it. Think about what actually happens when you send a message. You take something internal, a thought, a question, a small piece of yourself, and place it in front of another person. Your intention is visible. Your interest is documented. You are exposed. Now look at the other side. The person who receives your message can reply now, reply later, or reply never. And you can see that they saw it. That's the architecture. One person stands in an open doorway. The other controls a door that only locks from their side. There's research on uncertainty and dopamine that explains why this specific silence is so hard to sit with. Your brain doesn't treat an unanswered message as a neutral event, it treats it as an unresolved one. The same neural circuitry that keeps a gambler feeding coins into a machine activates when you're waiting for a reply that may or may not come. Not the rejection, the not knowing. You're not weak for checking again. The system was built to make you check. But the read receipt isn't the real mechanism. What happens inside you during that silence, that's where the power actually transfers. You sent something simple. Maybe a reply to their story. Maybe a question about this weekend. Nothing heavy. Nothing that should have required courage, or at least, that's what you told yourself while typing it. And then the waiting starts. At first, it's fine. People are busy. You believe that for about 20 minutes. Then you notice yourself rereading your own message. Not to remember what you said. You know what you said. You're scanning for the flaw. The sentence that was too eager. The exclamation mark that made you look too interested. The question that revealed you were thinking about them more than they were thinking about you. The silence hasn't said a word, but it's already made you the editor of your own rejection. That's not overthinking. That's the silence doing its work. When someone leaves you on read, the message being communicated isn't, "I'm busy." It's, "Your time costs less than mine." And the longer the silence stretches, the louder that ranking gets. You can feel it in your posture, how you were sitting upright when you hit send and now you're curled toward the screen, shoulders pulled forward, making yourself physically smaller without deciding to. You weren't imagining that shift, it was real. That's what it feels like when it's private, between two people, behind a locked screen. But there's a floor beneath that. Being left on read in a group chat is a different architecture entirely. Because now there are witnesses. You say something in the thread, a comment, a suggestion, maybe something you thought was funny. The conversation continues around you. Someone else's message gets a reaction. Someone else gets quoted and responded to. Yours stays there, untouched, like a chair at a table no one chose to sit in. Not rejected, not argued with, skipped. On the surface, it looks like nothing happened. People miss messages in group chats all the time. But you felt the ranking. You felt yourself get sorted into a hierarchy you never agreed to enter. And then comes the part that tightens something behind your sternum. You see them active somewhere else. A story posted 12 minutes after your message went unanswered. A comment dropped on someone else's photo. Proof that the silence wasn't circumstance. It was selection. You weren't overlooked. You were categorized. And whether anyone in that thread consciously registered it, they all received the same information about where you stand. The discomfort you felt wasn't irrational. It was accurate. Everything I've described so far happens within the first hour. What unfolds over weeks, over months of this pattern, is where it stops being about a message and starts being about who you become. Not in the conversation, in yourself. The most effective part of being left on read has nothing to do with the silence itself. It's what happens when the reply finally arrives. Think about the last time a close friend went dark on you for a day or two and then responded like nothing happened. "Lol, sorry, just saw this." 4 words. And watch what your reply looked like. It came faster than usual, warmer than usual. You might have even apologized for what you couldn't quite say, for following up, for noticing, for caring at a volume they didn't match. You performed relief. You made yourself easy to come back to. You lowered your expectations in plain sight so they wouldn't feel the weight of having failed to meet them. There's no formal name for this, but I think of it as the gratitude inversion, the moment you start thanking someone for finally giving you what should have been automatic. And what makes it so effective is the reset. The next time they take a day to reply, your discomfort kicks in a little later. You wait a little longer before the sting registers. Your tolerance adjusted without your permission, like a thermostat someone else is controlling, always set a few degrees cooler than what you'd choose for yourself. First you excuse it, then you expect it. Then you stop reaching out altogether. Your standards didn't lower on their own. They were trained downward, one unanswered message at a time. If you've made it this far, the next part is the one that matters most. Because everything before it was about what they did. This is about what it did to you. Your manager sends a message to the team channel. You respond within minutes. Thoughtful, specific, considered. The kind of message you'd want to receive. Hours pass. Then someone else drops a reply in the same thread. Your manager responds to them in under 4 minutes. You see the notification. You feel the heat climb the back of your neck before you even open the app. You close the laptop. Tell yourself it doesn't matter. Work isn't personal. But that night, lying in the dark at 1 a.m., your thumb scrolls back to the thread anyway. You reread what you wrote. It was good. More than good. And somehow that makes it worse. Because if the message wasn't the problem, then maybe the problem is who sent it. This is the deepest layer. The place where the silence stops being about the other person and starts rewriting your reflection from the inside. You begin carrying a quiet belief, never spoken, barely even formed into words, that you are too available, too eager, too present in a world that seems to reward the people who hold back. So you start performing a distance you don't actually feel, delaying your own replies on purpose, manufacturing casualness that doesn't match what's happening in your chest, trying to match their temperature so you don't stand out as the one who cared more than they were supposed to. You didn't decide to become this version of yourself. The shift happened beneath conscious thought, beneath language. You adapted to survive inside a hierarchy that penalized you for showing up honestly. Neuroscience has a term for what sits beneath all of this. Social pain overlap. The same brain region that processes physical injury lights up when you experience social rejection. Your brain does not distinguish between a door shut in your face and a message left unanswered for 9 hours. That's not you being dramatic. That's wiring. And over time, the question shifts. You stop asking, why didn't they reply? And start asking, why do I need them to? That second question sounds like growth. Listen to it again. It's you pathologizing your own desire to be acknowledged, turning a reasonable human expectation into evidence of a personal flaw. That's when the status move is complete, not when they went silent. When you decided you shouldn't have expected a sound in the first place. Remember the opening. 47 minutes, 3 app opens, the bruise you kept pressing. That reflex didn't come from nowhere. It was built, one quiet thread at a time. And here's the part that sits uncomfortably. You've done this too. Maybe this week, someone sent you a message and you saw it, felt nothing urgent, and let it sit. You weren't being cruel. You were tired, or distracted, or not in the mood to perform a conversation you didn't ask for. But to the person on the other end, your silence carried the exact same weight as everything you've spent this video recognizing. This isn't about cruelty on either side. It's about a communication architecture that gives weight to withdrawal and punishes whoever reaches first. The person who invests less holds the leverage. That's not a character flaw in you or in them. That's a design problem baked into every platform you use, and knowing that changes what the silence can do to you. Not because it stops hurting, but because you stop confusing the hurt with a verdict about who you are. You can't control whether someone responds. But you can stop letting their silence write your story for you. Drop a comment. The longest you've waited for a reply that never came. Not the hours, the feeling. One sentence is enough. If this is your first time here, subscribe. Every video on this channel names something you've felt but couldn't explain. Next time you see the word read, you'll know what you're looking at.